Disrupted. 2020 will be remembered as the year of COVID. This past week was 6 months since the first positive case was identified in New Zealand. What has become a global pandemic has created massive disruption to our lives. And to be honest, I'm over it. Endurance, perseverance, resilience, I'm sure have all been developed in the midst of the helplessness and uncertainty we're experiencing through events beyond our control. We're focused on God, His faithfulness, His goodness, His enduring presence, even in the face of adversity. But often we tend to do that through a negative lens. COVID has stolen precious, no longer to be repeated experiences. COVID has caused financial concerns. COVID has caused us to be a lot more cautious in public. COVID has highlighted greater mental health challenges. In Auckland, it even has many of us wearing face masks, something that is far from an acceptable cultural practice in our country. But let's not be so quick to write the year off. What about if we reframe our experience? What if we look at the situation and view the disruption we're experiencing from a different perspective? Instead of seeing COVID as something that has stolen our freedom, how is COVID shaping us to actually experience greater freedom? Now, in saying that, I'm not trivializing the impact or the loss we're experiencing or how we're feeling about what's going on. But I'm inviting us to look at the road ahead differently. What might God be inviting us to see that we might not have seen without the disruption? What new path does God want us to be walking that we might not have noticed without being disrupted? You see, disruption causes us to stop. It invites us to look with fresh eyes at our lives. It raises questions about what's important. In that process, we have the opportunity to reorientate, to make decisions about where we invest our time. It allows for the birth of new vision. So how are we viewing the disruption to our lives? The Gospels describe Jesus' experience of disruption. Jesus was on his way to Jairus' place to heal Jairus' sick daughter. In the midst of a crowd who'd gathered around Jesus, a woman who'd been bleeding for 12 years reached out and touched his cloak. Jesus stopped. He realized power had gone out from him, and he wanted to know who'd touched him. The woman hesitantly and fearfully identified herself, and Jesus, in his compassion, said, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." In the disruption, Jesus brought healing. But almost at the same time, news came to Jesus that Jairus' daughter had died. Had the disruption slowed Jesus' journey? Did the delay prevent him from reaching her in time? Perhaps from the onlooker's perspective, that was the case. But let's reframe the situation. Jesus continued on to the house and gave the girl life again. Perhaps what appeared to be a disruption actually enabled a greater work of God to occur. Rather than simply a healing of the sick girl, which in itself would have been a miracle, we see Jesus raising the girl from death, bringing about new life. In this story, we see a woman released from her 12-year journey of suffering. We see Jesus bringing life from death. It's a story of disruption on one hand, but a revelation of God to bring new vision and life out of suffering and give life to what appears to be dead on the other. So turning back to our situation, what is God restoring or healing or giving birth to in the disruption we're experiencing? Many of you will know that as a pastor, that my call as a pastor at Windsor Park is coming to an end in a couple of weeks. It's been a significant disruption as I've journeyed through the grief of leaving and yet I'm filled with anticipation and hope for what will emerge as I embrace God's new call. Disruptions are often painful. They're characterized by grief and loss. But as we start to view our experiences from a different perspective, we begin to see the potential for something new. The trouble is, we need to be willing to let go what was. That's the difficult part, because it goes against our human nature. We often look at our lives and want to hold on to what we had, rather than look forward and embrace a new, different, or unknown way. Robert Boyd tells the story of how in Asia it used to be possible to see monks demonstrate this through a monkey and an orange. An orange would be put into a glass vase, which allowed the monkey room to reach in and grab the orange. However, it was impossible for the monkey to pull out his hand while grasping the orange. Yet the monkey wouldn't let go of the orange. It would just continue to sit there, with its arms stuck in the vase. The monks would then invite the people to come back the next day to see that the monkey was still sitting in the same position, still grasping the orange. They would go on to explain that the monkey would choose death over life, unless the monkey is shown a new orange and could be enticed to let go the one in the jar. Let's not waste the power that disruption has in our lives to set us on a new path. As we find ourselves experiencing disruption and look at our circumstances from a different perspective, what is God showing us? What do we need to be letting go of that we're holding tightly onto? What is the new vision that's unfolding before us that we need to have courage to reach out and grasp? May we be able to look back on 2020 and see the power disruption has to be a catalyst for a new season of life. The pathway we're walking may not be the one we anticipated. The pathway ahead may not be the straight climb up the mountain we had planned. But in the newness, God may be leading us on a switchback that sees us moving back and forth across the face of the mountain, slowly getting higher and eventually reaching the summit. In the midst of the journey, we'll discover that through the disruption, God has brought us healing. He's restored our lives. He's revealed himself as a God who brings life out of death. God is at work, and in the mystery of his ways, will be accomplishing his purposes in our lives. May we continue trusting in his goodness and faithfulness as we choose to embrace the journey he's calling us on. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face shine upon you and give you peace, now and forevermore. Amen.